That turns pocket change into a golden ticket to your dream lifestyle. Let me ask you something. Have you ever dug around in your old change jar, maybe searching for enough coins to buy a cup of gas station coffee, and thought, what if one of these pennies was secretly worth $1 million? Well, buckle up, because today we're going to talk about a humble little coin that might just be hiding in your kitchen junk drawer right now. I'm talking about the 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. That's right, a 1-cent coin minted back when bell-bottoms were still fighting for survival, and disco was trying desperately not to die. This unassuming copper-plated cent could be worth as much as $1.60 million. You heard me correctly. $1.6 million. Enough to buy a fleet of RVs, pay off your house, or just roll around in a mountain of cash like Scrooge McDuck. So grab a cup of coffee, maybe pull out your piggy bank, and stick with me as we explore why this 1979 penny is worth a fortune, what makes it so rare, and how you can spot one yourself. I'm also going to share a personal story about the time I thought I'd found a rare penny and ended up getting laughed out of a coin shop. Alright, first things first, let's talk about what exactly makes a 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny potentially worth $1.6 million. Because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, come on, it's just a penny. What could possibly make it so valuable? Well, let's set the stage. In 1979, the US Mint was churning out billions, literally billions, of Lincoln pennies. Most of them were business strikes, made for circulation, and they were produced at multiple mints. Now, coins made in Philadelphia didn't get a mint mark. So technically, all Philadelphia pennies have no mint mark. But here's where things get interesting. A very small number of 1979 pennies ended up with extraordinary errors or ultra-high-grade qualities. Double dies, especially on the obverse, where you see doubling on Lincoln's date or LIBRTY proof-like finishes that somehow made it onto circulation coins. Rare planchet errors. And here's the kicker. One of these specimens, authenticated by leading grading services and in virtually perfect condition, crossed the auction block with a final hammer price that left everyone in the room speechless. I know, it sounds wild. But rare coins are like fine art. When the right collector wants it badly enough, the price goes through the roof. Now, let's break down some of the specific features that could make your penny worth a fortune. You've probably seen a coin that was struck off-center or looks like it melted a little. While minor errors might fetch you lunch money, major ones, like a 50% off-center strike combined with a double die, are lottery ticket rare. Even if your penny looks normal, if it has absolutely no wear, no scratches, a blazing red luster, and the sharpest details imaginable, it might qualify as MS68 or higher. That's coin nerd speak. For so pristine it looks like it came off the press yesterday. Occasionally, a penny was struck on a planchet meant for a dime or even a foreign coin. Imagine finding a penny the size of a dime but with Lincoln's face on it. That's the stuff of numismatic dreams. Now, before you run to your sock drawer, let me share a quick story to keep things real. About 10 years ago, I was convinced I'd struck it rich. I'd found a 1979 penny that looked weirdly shiny. So I did what any overexcited amateur would do. I spent 2 hours with a magnifying glass, convinced I saw doubling in the date. My hands were shaking as I drove to a local coin dealer, sure I was about to retire early. I plopped the penny down on the counter, the dealer picked it up, squinted, and then he chuckled. He said, "Buddy, that's just a regular penny somebody polished with Brasso." Turns out, the only thing rare about that penny was how clean it was. Always get an expert opinion before you start pricing yachts. Let's keep going with what you need to know: how to spot a valuable 1979 no-mint mark penny. Look for doubling. Focus on Liberty, the date, and in God we trust. Use a 10x magnifier if you can. Check the surfaces. $1 million penny will be nearly flawless. If it looks worn down, sorry, it's likely only worth a cent. Weigh it. A standard penny weighs about 3.11 grams. If yours is significantly different, you might have a wrong planchet error. Get it graded. I cannot stress this enough: grading by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC is the difference between a penny and a jackpot. To understand the fascination, you have to know collectors are driven by rarity, condition, and the thrill of the hunt. A high-grade 1979 no-mint mark penny checks all those boxes. It's basically the holy grail of modern Lincoln cents, and it's not just old retirees or history buffs hunting these down. There are young collectors and even big investors who buy these coins as alternative assets. Let's say you get lucky. You find a pristine 1979 penny with no mint mark, no scratches, and maybe even a rare error. Don't clean it. Ever put it in a protective holder, get professional authentication, contact a major auction house, start practicing your happy dance. It's truly life-changing money, and it all starts with a coin most folks wouldn't even bother to pick up off the sidewalk. Tips for building your penny hunting skills: always check your change. Even bankrolls can hide treasures. Learn about errors and varieties. Knowledge is everything. Invest in a good magnifying glass and a scale. Keep your finds organized. Join online collector forums to stay up to date. Let me tell you, there is no feeling quite like the moment you realize you're holding something worth more than most people's annual salary. Not all old pennies are valuable. Age helps, but condition and rarity matter more. Just because a penny has no mint mark doesn't mean it's worth millions. Most are ordinary. Cleaning coins destroys value. Resist the urge. Well, it starts with curiosity and a little patience. You don't need to be a millionaire to start, just start paying attention to the coins you touch every day. You never know which one will be your golden ticket. Alright, folks, that's the full scoop on the 1979 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny and why it can be worth as much as $1.6 million. We've covered what makes it rare, how to spot it, and what to do if you find one. I hope you enjoyed this ride through numismatic treasure hunting as much as I enjoyed sharing it. And remember, the next time someone tries to hand you change, don't be too quick to toss that penny in your cup holder. You might just be holding your first million. If you found this video helpful, funny, or just plain interesting, do me a favor, smash that subscribe button so you never miss another tip about coins worth big money. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're the first to know when I drop the next video. If you have a story about a coin you thought was valuable, or maybe one you actually sold for a big payday, share it down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Keep your eyes open, your change jars full, and your dreams big. Hey there, coin hunters, treasure seekers, and folks who just can't resist peeking under the couch cushions hoping to find a little piece of history. Today, I've got something that will make you rethink every single penny you've ever handed over for a cup of coffee. Imagine this: you're standing in line, jangling a few copper coins in your pocket, and one of them is actually worth a cool $1.7 million. That's right, one single 1967 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny could buy you the house of your dreams, a classic car collection, and enough pizza to last you a lifetime. So grab your coin jars, your magnifying glass, and maybe a cold drink, because we're going deep into the story, the value, and the secrets behind this $1 million penny. And stick around, because at the end I'm going to share one of my own pretty embarrassing penny stories, so you can laugh at my expense. Let's dive in. In 1967, the United States Mint was still dealing with the aftermath of a coin shortage that started in the early 60s. They were cranking out coins left and right, no time to add mint marks on the pennies. So every 1967 penny you see will be missing that tiny D or S. This coin features the classic Lincoln Memorial design on the back, complete with those little columns you probably never bothered to look at closely. Flip it over, and you've got Abraham Lincoln's distinguished face staring back at you with that look that says, "You really should have saved me." The composition was 95% copper and 5% zinc. Back then, nobody thought twice about tossing these pennies into vending machines, lunch counters, or the bottom of their piggy banks. Most 1967 pennies are worth a cent, maybe a few bucks in uncirculated condition. So how does one go from being a humble coin to becoming a millionaire's collectible? A combination of pristine condition, rare striking errors, and collector demand. Some 1967 pennies were struck on experimental planchets or ended up with striking mistakes, off-center designs, double dies, or misaligned edges. And when you have a flawless, uncirculated example with an error that makes it one of a kind, that's when the big auction houses start calling. Two collectors battling it out over the phone, each determined to own this oddball little copper disc. The bidding climbs and climbs until someone finally slams down that gavel at $1.7 million. If you think you might have one of these hidden treasures, you can't just squint at it under a lamp and declare yourself rich. You need to get it graded. Professional coin grading services like PCGS or NGC will assign your penny a grade based on condition, strike quality, and luster. A perfect MS-70 grade, that's mint state, basically flawless, could mean your penny is worth more than a Ferrari. Most 1967 pennies have been through the ringer, bouncing around pockets, cash registers, and maybe even your washing machine. The odds are low, but hey, someone has to find the lucky one. Recent auctions have seen premium examples of 1967 Lincoln pennies with unique errors selling for tens of thousands, and one confirmed case of an experimental planchet version fetching that whopping $1.7 million. That's the equivalent of 170 million ordinary pennies. Collectors are obsessed with these high-grade rarities because they're nearly impossible to find. The market keeps climbing, driven by folks who love the thrill of owning something nobody else can get their hands on. Dig out any old jars of coins you've been ignoring. Check your grandparents' collections. Seriously, they've probably got jars full of old pennies. Look for 1967 pennies in particularly shiny, clean condition. Watch for doubling on the lettering, weird textures on the edges, or signs that the coin was struck off-center. Don't clean them. Cleaning a penny destroys its value faster than you can say oops. Now, let me embarrass myself for your entertainment. About 10 years ago, I was helping my aunt clean out her attic. We found an old cigar box full of coins. I spotted a gleaming 1967 penny in the corner. My heart started racing. Could this be it? The golden, well, copper, ticket. I practically tripped over a vacuum cleaner running to my car to grab my magnifying glass. After 20 minutes of studying this coin, turning it under the light, taking pictures, even Googling it, I realized it was glued to the bottom of the box. Yep, it was literally stuck there as part of an old craft project, but hey, that's part of the adventure. Sometimes you find glue, sometimes you find a fortune. Get it authenticated by a reputable grading service, insure it immediately. Contact a major coin auction house like Heritage Auctions or Stacksbowers. Consider hiring an agent who specializes in numismatic sales. Don't announce it on Facebook before it's safely locked away. Seriously, this is a life-changing find, so treat it accordingly. The wild, wonderful world of the 1967 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. Next time you get a handful of change, don't just toss it on your dresser or into the nearest tip jar. Look closely, because you never know if you're holding onto a piece of history that could be worth enough to change your life forever. Remember, whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone who likes a good treasure hunt, every coin has a story. Sometimes, that story ends with $1 million payday. If you enjoyed this video, learned something new, or at least had a laugh at my glued penny fiasco, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my tips on coins worth serious money and strategies to build wealth from collecting. And if you're feeling extra generous, share this video with a friend who still thinks pennies are worthless. Hey there, my fellow treasure hunters and penny pinchers. Imagine this for a second. You're digging around in your couch cushions for some spare change, and you pull out a penny that could buy you a beachfront mansion, a couple of luxury cars, and still leave enough cash for an endless supply of pizza. Sounds like a fairy tale, right? But I'm here to tell you, sometimes the most ordinary looking coins can be worth an eye-popping fortune. Today, we're going to talk about one special little copper beauty, the 2013 no mint mark Memorial Lincoln 1-cent penny that's been valued at a mind-blowing $1.8 million. Yes, you heard that right. Not $18. Not $18,000. $1.8 million. So grab a comfy seat, maybe even go grab that old jar of pennies you've been ignoring since 1997, and let's dive into this incredible story. Because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this unassuming little coin is worth more than most people's houses. Alright, before we jump into why this 2013 penny is so valuable, let's set the scene. First, let's talk about the design. The 2013 Lincoln penny carries the familiar face of Honest Abe on the front. The back features the Union shield, symbolizing Lincoln's preservation of the United States. Now, that might sound ordinary. You probably have dozens of these in your change jar. But the magic happens in the details. This specific 2013 penny has no mint mark. Normally, a penny minted in Philadelphia doesn't have a mint mark, so you might think, hey, what's so special about that? Here's the twist. This particular specimen is known for an ultra-rare error during production. Some collectors discovered that a very limited batch of 2013 pennies were struck on experimental planchets, basically, the blank metal discs used to make coins. In this case, the wrong type of planchet was used. Instead of the standard copper-plated zinc, some were struck on bronze planchets that hadn't been used in decades. That one error turned an everyday coin into a multi-million-dollar marvel, and if you're wondering why anyone would pay $1.8 million for a penny, let me tell you, collectors are a passionate bunch. They'll pay top dollar to own a piece of history, especially when that history comes with a twist. Now, I promise to keep this friendly and casual, so let me share a quick story about how I almost lost my mind over a penny. A few years ago, I was helping my dad clean out the garage. We had boxes of old coins, dusty books, and everything else you can imagine. I picked up this jar of change, must have weighed 20 pounds, and I started sorting through it just to pass the time. Suddenly, I found a penny with no mint mark. My heart was beating out of my chest. I thought I'd hit the jackpot. I was already daydreaming about quitting my job, buying a yacht, and naming it Pennywise. But of course, after a little research, it turned out my treasure was worth exactly 1 cent. Maybe less, if you count inflation. But that thrill I felt, that surge of excitement, is exactly what makes coin collecting so much fun. So, what exactly should you look for if you think you might have one of these golden, or rather copper tickets? First, you'll need a magnifying glass. Look carefully at the surface of the coin. The rare bronze planchet gives it a slightly different tone compared to the more common copper-plated zinc. It's a warmer, richer color. Also, the weight is a clue. Bronze pennies weigh about 3.11 grams, while copper-plated zinc pennies weigh only 2.5 grams. A simple digital scale can help you spot the difference. Next, check the edges and details of the design. Because these coins were struck in error, you might notice sharper details or even a slightly off-center appearance. And if you think you found something special, don't just toss it back in the jar, get it authenticated by a reputable coin grading service. Who in their right mind is buying a penny for $1.8 million? The answer is simple: rarity plus demand equals value. There may only be a handful of these error pennies in existence. For the dedicated collector, owning one is like owning a priceless piece of art. It's bragging rights, it's history, and it's an investment all rolled into one. Here's another fun fact to keep you entertained. Did you know that the US Mint makes billions, yes, billions with a B, of pennies every year? So the odds of finding something rare might sound tiny. But the thing is, coins are struck by machines operated by humans. And wherever humans are involved, there's room for mistakes. Those mistakes are where the money is hiding. It's like buying a lottery ticket you can actually examine before you play. You can hold it in your hand, study it, weigh it, and if you're really lucky, cash it in for a life-changing windfall. And here's where the humor comes in. Imagine explaining this to your spouse: honey, why is there a magnifying glass, a scale, and 40 pounds of pennies all over the kitchen counter? Relax, sweetheart. I'm hunting for $1 million penny. That's the beauty of coin collecting. Everyone laughs until you actually find one worth more than your mortgage. Let's talk about the market value. The last time one of these 2013 no-mint mark bronze planchet pennies was appraised, it was valued at $1.8 million. Since then, the market has only grown. More collectors are coming in, especially younger buyers with disposable income. So if you find one, you could be looking at a retirement plan disguised as spare change. And now, if you're wondering how to sell a penny like this, there are a few options. You could take it to an auction house specializing in rare coins. You could also contact a top coin dealer who works with high-end collectors. Or you might decide to hold on to it and watch the value grow over time. There's no wrong answer. Just make sure you get it graded and authenticated first. That little slab of plastic and paper from the grading service can be the difference between a life-changing sale and a disappointing, sorry, it's a fake. And if you're sitting there thinking, this all sounds fun, but it'll never happen to me, let me remind you, everyone who's ever found a rare penny probably thought the same thing. Alright, my fellow coin adventurers, let's bring this home. Today, you learned how an unassuming 2013 penny, one you could have picked up off the sidewalk, turned into a $1.8 million treasure. We talked about how to spot one, why they're so valuable, and what to do if you find one. And maybe you even got a laugh out of my garage cleaning fiasco. If nothing else, I hope this inspired you to take a second look at those old coins rattling around in jars and drawers. Because who knows? The next millionaire could be you. Before you head off to start your penny hunt, do me a favor. Smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on more videos about coins that could change your life. And hit the bell icon so you get notified every time I drop a new video packed with tips, stories, and strategies for making money with collectibles. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Now get out there and check your change. Your future just might be hiding in the palm of your hand. We turn pocket change into potential fortunes. Now, before you dash off to the couch cushions or raid the coin jar on top of the fridge, stick around because today we're diving into the story of the 1988 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny that has collectors shelling out up to $1.9 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single little coppery coin could be worth more than most people's mortgages. And if you're thinking, oh please, that's probably some ancient relic dug up from under the Colosseum, think again. This is a penny you could have gotten as change from buying a Slurpee back in the late 80s. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's unravel the mystery behind this tiny slice of American history that might just make you a millionaire overnight. By the way, if you've ever accidentally spent a valuable penny at a vending machine, you're definitely not alone. I've got a story about that coming up that will make you feel a whole lot better about it. Alright, let's jump right in. Let's start with the basics. The 1988 Lincoln Memorial penny looks pretty much like any other. It's got Abraham Lincoln staring off into the distance, maybe thinking about all the people who'd one day obsess over his profile on a coin. There are special varieties of this penny with unique errors. Some 1988 pennies were struck with leftover dies from 1989. These dies created a doubled die obverse, meaning Lincoln's features and the lettering appear slightly doubled under magnification. And guess what? That's not even the rarest part. The truly legendary variety has no mint mark. While most were minted in Philadelphia without a mint mark anyway, this particular version combined the rare doubled die features and flawless condition to create the perfect storm of collectability. Imagine a mint employee in 1988 thinking, "Nobody will notice." Fast forward decades later, collectors are willing to drop almost $2 million for that little oopsie. So if you have a 1988 penny, don't just toss it in your piggy bank. Grab a magnifying glass and check the date. The highest known sale of this special 1988 no mint mark doubled die penny was for a staggering $1.9 million at a private auction. And before you roll your eyes, this wasn't some shady backroom deal. This was a verified transaction between serious numismatic investors. Only a handful of these coins are known to exist. The most valuable specimens are graded MS68 or higher, which basically means they look like they just rolled off the minting press yesterday. Collectors love dramatic stories and unique errors, and this coin checks both boxes. Remember, the value is heavily dependent on authenticity and grade. A coin grader can make or break your payday, so if you think you've got the jackpot penny, get it certified by a reputable service like PCGS or NGC. The time I spent a valuable penny on chewing gummy promised you a story, and here it is. Back in college, I was always broke. Ramen noodles were basically my daily delicacy. One day, I scraped together just enough change to buy a pack of gum to keep my breath fresh for a date. Fast forward a couple of years, I got into coin collecting. I was flipping through some old photos when I realized, clear as day, that I'd spent a 1972 doubled die penny, worth thousands, on that gum. And the date was terrible anyway. Check your coins before you spend them. Otherwise, you might end up with stale gum and an empty bank account. The date should read 1988. There should be no mint mark under the date. Under magnification, look for doubling on the letters Liberty and In God We Trust. The coin should be in near perfect condition if you want top dollar. Even if you find one in average shape, it could still be worth thousands. First, don't spend it. Seriously, tape it to your forehead if you have to. Store it in a protective coin holder. Avoid touching it with your bare fingers. Research recent auction results so you know what to expect. And remember, if a dealer offers you a suspiciously low amount, get a second opinion. This is $1 million piece of history, not a gumball. While we're here, let's talk about other 1988 pennies that can be valuable. The 1988 D pennies with similar doubled dies, proof pennies from special mint sets. Off-center strikes and broad strikes. It's worth checking all your 1988 coins. Even the ones you think look ordinary. In the age of digital everything, people crave something tangible. Coins are little pieces of history you can hold in your hand. Plus, the idea that you could literally pick up a penny off the sidewalk and fund your retirement is just too tempting to resist. And let's be honest, telling your buddies you found a $1.9 million penny is way cooler than bragging about your fantasy football stats. If this is your first foray into coin collecting, start slow. Get a basic magnifying glass. Learn the lingo, terms like mint state, proof, and die clash. Keep your coins safe in protective holders. Be patient. Remember, the real fun is in the hunt. One of my favorite things about coin collecting is sharing stories with other enthusiasts, like the time a guy at a coin show told me he found a valuable penny in his grandma's button jar. She'd been using it to prop up a wobbly table leg for 20 years. Coins have stories, and when you collect them, you're preserving those stories too. If you take away one thing from this video, it's this: don't underestimate the little copper coin in your change pile. It could be your ticket to a dream vacation, a new house, or financial freedom. And hey, even if you don't find the $1 million penny, you'll still have a blast searching. Today we learned that the 1988 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny isn't just pocket change, it's the ultimate hidden treasure worth up to $1.9 million if you find the right one in perfect shape. We covered what makes it valuable, how to spot it, why it's so rare, and what to do if you're lucky enough to snag one. And if you're thinking, this sounds too good to be true, remember, people just like you have stumbled across these coins in everyday places. So do yourself a favor. Check your penny jars, your glove box, your kitchen junk drawer. Before you go, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss more videos about coins worth serious money, plus tips on how to sell them and strategies to grow your collection. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who still thinks pennies aren't worth keeping. I'm here to help you turn your pocket change into prosperity, one coin at a time. Hey there, coin hunters and accidental millionaires. Let me ask you a question. What if I told you that an old penny, the kind you might find rattling around in your junk drawer or stuck between your couch cushions, could be worth a cool $1 million? No, this isn't one of those late-night infomercials where I promise you untold riches if you just mail me $19.95 plus shipping. I'm talking about the real deal, the 1968 Mint Mark Lincoln Memorial Penny. Today, we're diving deep into why this unassuming little copper coin has collectors and investors practically drooling all over their coin albums. So grab your magnifying glass, put on your treasure hunting hat, and let's get started. You might just discover you've been sitting on a fortune all along, alright? Let's kick this off with a little background so you know exactly what you're looking for. The 1968 Lincoln penny was minted in San Francisco. That's what the S stands for, by the way. It doesn't mean Superman, though that would be pretty cool. Back in 1968, these pennies were made mostly of copper with a smidge of zinc and tin. They weigh 3.11 grams, measure 19 millimeters in diameter, and feature the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front. On the reverse, you've got the Lincoln Memorial. Simple enough, right? But here's where things get interesting. Not all 1968 pennies are created equal. Some of them have errors or qualities that make them ultra-rare and wildly valuable. I'm talking about varieties like the double die obverse. That's when the design elements on the front of the coin, like the date, the word liberty, or "In God We Trust," look a little doubled or blurry because of a misalignment during minting. If you find a clear, dramatic doubling on your 1968 penny, you could be staring at a coin that collectors will pay six figures for. And in the rarest, most pristine conditions, with top-grade certification from professional grading services, the value can skyrocket to $1 million or more. And now, you might be wondering, why in the world would anyone pay that much for a penny? Well, think about it like baseball cards or comic books. It's all about rarity, condition, and demand. The collectors with deep pockets want the best of the best, and they're willing to pay top dollar for a coin that practically never turns up in high grades. Let's take a quick pause here for a story. A couple of years ago, I was helping my uncle clean out his garage. You know the kind of garage I'm talking about: boxes stacked to the ceiling, spider webs everywhere, and the unmistakable smell of old cardboard. We found a dusty jar filled with pennies, nickels, and a few buttons that probably fell off someone's shirt in 1983. I figured it was just junk. But as a lifelong coin nerd, I started sifting through them anyway. And wouldn't you know it, there was a shiny little 1968 penny in there. My heart did a little tap dance. I pulled out my loop, checked it over, and sadly, no doubling. No $1 million jackpot that day. But it taught me something important: you never know where treasure might be hiding. Even the most boring jar of coins can hold something special. First, check the date carefully. You're looking for a crisp 1968 with an S below it. Next, examine the lettering on the obverse. If you see clear doubling on Liberty or "In God We Trust," that's a very good sign. Then, look at the overall condition. Collectors and grading services use a scale called the Sheldon scale, which goes from 1 to 70. The closer your coin is to a 70, the more valuable it is. A 68 or 69 grade can mean the difference between $100 and hundreds of thousands. You'll also want to watch for full original luster, no corrosion, and no damage. Remember, even a tiny scratch can dramatically lower the value. Or copper, in this case, you'll want to have your coin professionally graded by PCGS or NGC. That certification proves authenticity and helps set the market value when you go to sell it. If you find a valuable 1968 penny, you have options. You can consign it to a major auction house, where wealthy collectors will fight over it with their paddles and deep wallets. Or you can list it privately through a reputable dealer. Just be careful. There are plenty of scammers who will try to convince you your coin isn't worth much so they can flip it for a fortune. Always get a second opinion and never let anyone pressure you into a quick sale. While we're on the subject, here's a little insider tip. If you're serious about hunting for valuable pennies, pick up a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. It doesn't have to be fancy, even a $15 loupe can help you spot doubling, repunchment marks, and other clues that your coin might be special, and for goodness sake, check every single penny before you roll it up and take it to the bank. You'd be amazed how often people cash in coins worth thousands because they didn't bother to look closely. If you're thinking, but I don't have any old jars of pennies, don't worry. You can also search coin shows, estate sales, flea markets, and even online auctions. Sometimes people list coins with blurry photos and vague descriptions, and sharp-eyed collectors can snag bargains no one else noticed. This hobby is part treasure hunt, part detective work, and part exercise in patience. But trust me, it's worth it. Not just because of the money, though that's nice, but because of the thrill of discovery. There's nothing quite like holding a piece of history in your hand. So let's bring it all home. The 1968 Lincoln penny might look ordinary, but under the right circumstances, it can be worth up to $1 million. You just need to know what to look for: the S mint mark, doubling on the date and letters, and exceptional condition. Take the time to sort through your coins carefully. You never know when you'll uncover the find of a lifetime. And when you do, you'll have a story you can tell for the rest of your life, maybe even from the deck of your beach house, bought with the proceeds of that humble penny. Before you dash off to check your change jars, do me a favor. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss any of my future guides. I'll be sharing more tips on coins worth serious money and strategies to help you turn your collection into real wealth. Thanks for spending time with me today. Happy hunting, and remember, sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest value. Hey there, fellow treasure hunters. Ever thought that little copper penny rattling around in your kitchen junk drawer could actually be worth over $1 million? Sounds nuts, right? Well, buckle up, because today we're going to talk about one very special coin that's turned a lot of heads, the 1979 Lincoln Memorial 1-cent penny. Yes, you heard that right, a penny that sold for a jaw-dropping $1.1 million. And now, before you run to grab every jar of change in the house, stick with me, because I'm going to share exactly why this coin is so valuable, how to spot one, and what to do if you think you've found a winner. And if you hang around to the end, I'll tell you a personal story about the time I nearly tossed out a rare penny myself and how that taught me never to underestimate pocket change. Alright, let's dive in and uncover why a simple penny could be your ticket to an early retirement and a beach house with all the margaritas you can drink. Let's start by talking about what makes the 1979 Lincoln penny so interesting. First of all, let's cover the basics. The Lincoln Memorial penny was minted from 1959 all the way through 2008. You'll recognize it instantly: good old Abe Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the back. The D mint mark? That tells you it was made in Denver. In 1979, billions, and I mean billions, of these pennies were produced. So why on earth would anyone pay more than $1 million for one? It all comes down to rarity, condition, and a little thing called errors and varieties. So here's the secret sauce. This particular 1979 D penny wasn't just any coin. It was graded at the absolute top of the scale, mint state 68 red. Now, in coin collecting, coins are graded from 1 to 70. If you've got something in the high 60s, it's basically flawless. No scratches, no spots, and the color is a bright, vibrant red copper. Combine that perfection with the fact that very, very few pennies survived in such condition, and you get a recipe for an astronomical price tag. To put that into perspective, imagine you had a baseball card with a crease across the middle. Even if it was a rare card, that little bend would knock thousands off its value. Coins work the same way, and now, let's talk about how to spot a potential $1 million 1979 D penny, the D mint mark just under the date. No D? Sorry, that's not the one. An absolutely pristine surface, no wear, no fingerprints, no discoloration. A bright, red luster. In coin lingo, red means the copper hasn't toned brown or dull over time. Lincoln's hair and beard should look crisp enough to comb, and here's the kicker: it needs to be professionally graded and slabbed by a respected grading service like PCGS or NGC. That's how collectors know they're paying big money for the real deal. You might be thinking, well, I've got a jar of pennies in the closet. Maybe I'm sitting on a gold mine. You might be. But let me share a quick story about the time I nearly gave away a valuable coin without knowing it. About 10 years ago, I had a habit of cleaning out my car every few months, and I'd just toss all my spare change into a plastic grocery bag. One Saturday morning, I decided to cash in all those coins at the grocery store. There must have been at least $40 worth of pennies, nickels, and dimes in there. While I was pouring them into the Coinstar machine, this old guy behind me cleared his throat and said, "Son, you ought to look at those pennies first. Some of 'em could buy you a card." I laughed it off, thinking he was just making conversation, but later that week I went home and actually did some research. That's when I discovered coins like the 1979 D penny that sold for hundreds of thousands and eventually over $1 million just because of their condition. Let me tell you, I haven't looked at pocket change the same way since. Handle it carefully, never touch the faces. Hold it by the edges to avoid skin oils. Use a magnifying glass to check for that D mint mark and pristine surfaces. Compare it to high-resolution images online of mint state examples. Consider getting it graded by PCGS or NGC. Yes, it costs a little money, but it's the only way you'll ever get a serious buyer. If it grades at MS67 or MS68 red, congratulations, you may just have a 6 or 7-figure treasure. You'd be surprised how many folks have coins worth thousands and don't even realize it because they assume a penny is just a penny. Let's take a minute to talk about the current market. This year, collectors are paying record prices for high-grade Lincoln cents. In fact, the last auction record for a 1979 D in mint state 68 red was right around $1.1 million. That's right, one little penny, the kind you could drop under your car seat, could be worth more than a Ferrari. How many of us have accidentally vacuumed up a penny or left one on a restaurant table as a tip? Makes you think twice, doesn't it? While we're at it, here are a few other Lincoln pennies that have sold for crazy money. In 1959 DMS 67 red Lincoln cent sold for over $48,000,01969s. Double die obverse sold for more than $100,000. The point is, if you learn to recognize these varieties, you could fund your dream vacation or maybe even an early retirement. And if you're wondering, why would anyone pay that much for a penny? Well, collecting is all about owning the finest known examples. If you're a serious collector, having the very best coin completes your set and you'll pay big to get it, but you don't have to be a millionaire to enjoy coin hunting. Start by going through your own change. Look in old piggy banks, jars in the garage, or even your grandma's purse. You never know where you'll find treasure. Alright, friends, let's wrap this up. We've learned today that a 1979 D Lincoln Memorial penny, in the right condition, isn't just worth a little more than face value, it could be your ticket to unimaginable wealth. Remember, the key is condition, the D mint mark, and that blazing red copper luster. If you think you've got one, don't spend it on a vending machine soda. Get it checked by the professionals, and don't forget my own cautionary tale: always take a second look at your change. You might be just one penny away from a life-changing discovery. And if you enjoyed this video and you're curious about more coins that could be worth a fortune, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Tap the bell icon so you never miss a tip, a story, or a strategy to turn spare change into big money. Leave a comment and let me know, have you ever found an old coin that turned out to be valuable? Or are you just getting started in this amazing hobby? Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Happy hunting, and remember, every penny counts, especially the $1 million ones.